Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have the dog today. I have everything today, even the board business. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome to. I'm going to hit you with the microphone. Good morning. Welcome to the November 23rd meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. I get the dog today. Oh, looks like our Shorty and Babe. Oh, how pretty. Thanks, Jack. Oh, she's taking me for a walk. He's taking me for a walk. Come on, puppy. This way. Whoa. No. Hey, yo. Sit down. Sit down. Hey. I don't want to mop up the floor. Hey. Oh, look, a biscuit. Oh, look. Can you sit?
His tail's wagging so hard he can't stand up.
Sit down. No. Hey, do you know how to sit? Oh my goodness. I couldn't have you. You never did me the first day. And he spits half of it out. Okay, well, let's just forget about that. Good morning. This is a Dalmatian mix, approximately less than
We can do it on a contractual basis.
3 years old, found in, picked up in North Bridgeville, a stray. He'll be available sometime. When, Jack? After Saturday at 3 o'clock. Okay, he makes somebody a nice. This needs to be walked a little bit and loved and trained. Okay. A thought for today. A good laugh is sunshine in a house. Well, I had my sunshine for this morning. Phew. Okay, Madam Clerk, you're in charge.
Budget hearings 10 o'clock, auditor 10:15, coroner 10:30, treasurer 10:45, board of revisions, and 11 o'clock recorder. 1 o'clock today is going to be our investment advisory meeting. Resolutions number 1, job and family services bills.
Wow, so moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Investments.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I don't know if we want to bring this up now, but we're getting $300 and some odd dollars, $100,000 back from
Unclaimed funds.
unclaimed funds, you trust. So that's good news for us.
Additional revenue.
Unexpected additional revenue. Was it 345,000 or?
About.
Yeah.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Travel.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Bills.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of the County Commissioners.
Mr. Cordez?
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. I do have a few personnel actions. one in community development, potential new hires at Golden Acres that I'd like to discuss. Also, I had some discussions with the Teamsters, and I want to pass along some of those issues to the board, and also the potential sale of real estate. All three of those topics are allowable under the Sunshine Law for executive session, so I would ask at the conclusion of our regular meeting today, we go into executive session and have those talks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the same in the County Commissioners meeting minutes of November 10th and 17th.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Authorize payment in the amount of $1,000 to Boyer and Cool Home for funerals, Lorain for indigent veteran William B. Gallis in the accordance with Ohio Revised Code 5901.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Approve and enter an agreement with Wellington Community Fire District for county health care effective January 1st, 2011 through December 31st, 2013.
Is this a new agreement, Jim?
Yes.
Said yes? They're
Oh,
not
okay.
part?
The, number 12,
Yes.
this is something we've been working on for a little while. It just brings one of the smaller groups from out Wellington. I actually think it's only 2 people. But they wanted to join, and they're eligible to join, and so we've never restricted anybody before.
Good, thank you. So moved.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under Community Development, approve and enter in contract with Donald B. Eager and Associates LLC in the amount not to exceed $9,500 to provide fair housing services in compliance with CDBG FY10, effective retroactive to September 22nd, 2010 through August 31st, 2011, and authorize county administrator to execute all necessary documents with approval as to form by prosecutor.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
I did speak to Pat Metzger about this, and he said they've been doing a good job for us over the past few years, and they keep us legal and safe and keep all our T's crossed and our I's dotted, so.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Under Golden Acres, approve addendum number 1 contract with Arbor Rehabilitation and Healthcare Services, Inc., Gates Mills. The current contract is for Schedule C residents covenant under Medicare A and Managed Care A will now pay 85 cents per minute for therapy services, an increase from 80 cents.
Okay, also moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Under the engineer, proceed with the force account for normal and general maintenance and repair during 2011 for county roads for safety of traveling public.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Authorize posting of low limit signs that state weight limit reduction by 25% on various county roads for thaw and moisture period in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code 5577.07, effective February 1st, 2011 through May 1st, 2011.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Blair? Ms.
Aye.
Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Cortez, County Administrator?
Other than to wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving's holiday season. Hopefully everybody has family to be with. If you're traveling, be safe. If not, happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Mr. Ennis, Assistant County Prosecutor.
Commissioners, I would request that I have an opportunity to speak with you in executive session regarding one matter of pending litigation.
Commissioners report.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to commend Church of the North Coast. I went there Saturday, and Mark Ballard was there, and Gerald Pippin, I think you know those guys. But we served, I'm going to guess, about 200 homeless people their Thanksgiving meal on Saturday. And then yesterday, Sherry and I went down to where the UAW, they put together about 300 dinners yesterday and delivered them to families through their membership drive and I think a spaghetti dinner or something. They raised about $6,000 to purchase all the food to take to all the needy families throughout Lorain County. I just want to thank them for what they do to give back to their community. I also left a message for Mr. Cortez, which I know Sandy had responded to me, but I thought we might want to talk about this. I don't know if it's something for executive session or out here, but the TB clinic, I noticed, had a carryover of about a little over $1 million, and I was wondering how we could maybe not tap into, but combine our efforts there. So
Back in 2000, I think I sent you a little teaser on this when So we had discussed it back in 2002 and 2003.
That was before our time.
It was. Was there a time before your time?
That was before our time,
Yeah.
here.
There was a proposal on the table to go to a voucher system, whereas the number of cases was while there was still TB cases, and a lot of people don't realize this still is. The amount was felt that it could be manageable under a voucher system where physicians around the county potentially treating folks with TB could be paid from a voucher system rather than having a full-blown TB clinic. And also there was talk about combining TB with the general health district.
And that was in 1990.
There was talks in the 90s on that, but they were more, I think they were closer to possible decision in 2002 and 3 because we were wrestling with that levy at the time, whether to put it back on. And
Well, that would be my question. If we were to combine the TB clinic with the health district, would that eliminate the need for that levy and then in turn save the taxpayers some money?
It may not eliminate the need for the levy because there still are recipients of benefits within the community.
But we could
but
reduce
it
the
would-
amount that they would be levied?
It could be, potentially. I haven't looked at the figures in 5 or 6 years, but recognizing that we can't make the health department take the TB clinic. The health department is a separate, somebody have?
No, go ahead. I was looking at Lisa.
The-
a little
the,
bit confused.
Sign language going.
The health department is a political subdivision unto itself, so we do not have authority over the county health department. So the reason I'm saying is I don't want the public to think, okay, commissioners snap their fingers
That we
and
don't
you
have
can-
the authority.
Right,
but
you can
we
consolidate
can-
those.
We can open those discussions with them.
You could, and again, the discussions were potentially going to a voucher system, which would require some funding. I don't think the general health district for the county is in a financial position where they could provide certain services without levy support. But if the cost came down considerably, you would have two things you can do. You can either reduce the levy at the next time that it comes up, and if I'm not mistaken, you guys had some minor discussion. I think it was on in 2005 or
Yeah, right when we
6,
first got
right
here,
when you
they-
first got
right.
here. So it's probably getting ripe again.
Okay.
And if you could reduce the cost substantially enough, you can request that the funds be declared in excess, and those funds would be returned would be sent to the general fund to be used as needed for the operations for the public good.
So we can't use the excess funds presently.
Not until you decide what you want to do with the agency and what the requirements of the agency may be.
Okay.
If I recall going back a few years, I thought their budget was somewhere in 300-something thousand, 400,000 a year. It's been a while since they've been in here. It may be time that if you wanted, we made a request for them to come in.
I think so. I mean, anytime I've been talking to people, I'm telling them we're looking under every rock and squeezing every turnip. So I think this is one that we might want to look at.
Well, let me explain one thing about levy monies, again, that folks don't understand. And I'm not sure if they did a 5-year or 10-year levy, so we need to go back. And Lisa, would you take a look at that?
Teresa said 5.
Was it 5? Because, and then, do you remember the year? Was it 2006?
I believe it was 05.
More recent than that? It wasn't too long ago. 2006, 7. Oh, well, if it was 5, they would have been in here this year, so it's probably 6 or 7. At the beginning of a levy, you generally roll up funds for your operating over the lifespan of the levy. So you do run a surplus in the first couple of years, which, if accounted for right, will be reduced, and usually in the 4th and 5th year. And then there's a bit of a carryover in case you have more than one shot at renewal in case you're defeated at the ballot. So I don't know where they are in that life cycle of how they do that. Almost without exception, all levy activities work on that life cycle. So that's why it's probably important for us to have a discussion with them. But 1.1 does sound a little bit on the high side.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. And I believe that is the end of my report, other than wishing everybody a safe and happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Commissioner. Last week, I attended County Commissioners Association of Ohio. I sit on the Board of Trustees there, and we finished our 80-page legislative program for the new administration to look at, and priorities are working on economic and workforce development, making it more locally driven versus them sending mandates down to us, preserving our local government fund, and talking about the phase down in the cat tax.
What did they
not
say about
doing
the
that-
local government fund?
About keeping it safe,
Oh,
the
good.
current formula.
I hope so.
Administration of Justice asking the state to take on more costs when it comes to our courts, which we all know is extremely expensive, as we saw by the presentation our Court of Common Pleas gave us a couple of weeks ago. Saving core human services, sharing services, allowing counties to actually share services with other counties. They brought up the dog kennel, and they brought up the coroner's office actually as possible cost sharing. Reforming some of county government, again, working in the larger districts, working on our county revenues, elections administration with the mandates coming from the Secretary of State office to just have the state fund those.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah, it'd be wonderful. And then emergency 911, working on the 28-cent monthly charge, and transportation infrastructure, dealing anywhere from not just roads, but also including rail and transit. So it's all going forward. So let's hope they look at it and then just file it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, we had a presentation from Antonio Barrios a few weeks ago about the Lorain Arts Council. I stopped by their showing on Sunday in downtown Lorain. Very nice. Probably about 8 different artists showing their wares.
Was it the coloring contest?
Yes, it was a coloring contest. And also the Hispanic Fund wine tasting here tonight at La Sala for their scholarship fund. Very nice turnout. Fine job, Mike Farrar, and everyone else who was involved.
Mm-hmm.
End of my report, I think.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. On Friday, I attended the public officials reception held at Windows on the River in Cleveland, and it was a very nice reception. Saw a lot of people that I have met over the 20 years I've been here. But the one person that I spoke to that I enjoyed the most was the Cuyahoga County Commissioner's clerk, who made a point to tell me that the memorandum of understanding for the West Shore Corridor project that we have approved here will be on the Cuyahoga County Commissioner's agenda for December 2nd. That's their last meeting, their last official meeting as a board, and they have a couple hundred items on the agenda, and ours is one of them. So, I thought that was good news. Thank you, that's it.
And Erie County approved theirs yesterday.
Thank you, Teresa. I was hoping you had some news. Thank you so much.
Board correspondence,
I move the reading be waived.
Second.
discussion, Ms. Blair,
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Ms. Kowski.
Hi.
Public comment?
Anybody want to talk to us today?
Well, we
Okay.
could start early if you like, because Mr. Stewart is here.
Okay, that'd be good.
Mr. Stewart.
Mark, come on down.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Board of
Morning.
Arts. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Fine, fine. Part of the process, I guess, you've initiated is to have the elected officials come up, speak a little bit about the budget in past years, as well as projection into 11. Taking your lead on that, I wanted to review what we have done in 2009. As we all know, we had some very painful cuts, 20% cuts. We had 9 layoffs in the county auditor's office, saving about $370,000. We had a couple of retirements. Our famous Tina Anderson, Marlene Hogue, and recently Anna Griffith. Reduced our payroll costs in the county by going green, and what I mean by that is direct deposits, making payroll officers do certain things to facilitate and help and save. We moved our new construction office from a bank building and moved it into the county. County-owned property. We shifted some responsibilities around in new construction. Those were some of the things that we did in 2009 to help out. 2010, this is for Brad Dickin.
Is he here?
He's here.
Wayne,
We,
Thank you for
we
raising your hand.
required that the newspapers bid on the delinquent advertising and certain advertisings in the county auditor's office. Generally, we put that big list in both papers, but we went to one paper at a tax savings for all governments because that's kind of a pass-through expense. So we did those kinds of things to only go in one general circulation. We brought the tax map department in 2010 under the auditor's office because the maps are prepared to tell the auditor what to appraise. So it was a very good, seamless kind of event.
And we
And
thank you.
thank you and
Okay.
the county engineer for that.
Okay. Well, we worked together, and it seems to, we've had about 6 months on that, so it's worked really well in that transition.
And that was a savings of,
about 100,000, I think.
I thought it was more than
I
that.
think it was
We
more
didn't
than
have a
that
whole
too.
year implementation.
But it will be
Right.
more than 100,000 next year.
Yeah, sure. We're going to be continuing on that effort. So we've upgraded, and I hope you pass that today on your agenda. We're trying to upgrade, buy some new servers because those are 10 years old. We feel that buying these servers and upgrading the servers with some new software for the Oracle upgrade, which hasn't gone on in a number of years, we're in an unsupported vehicle at this point. But that will help us, and we implemented laying off the database administrator to make it more automated with the purchase of this software. So if something does happen, we might need your help with some outside contractors, but we laid a person off in the data department to do that. We've not replaced or delayed replacing employees to fit within our budget. So we have, if somebody's been laid off, we try to analyze and see whether or not we should replace that person. So we had a couple in bookkeeping, one in tax settlement, and our chief appraiser has moved on to a private employment. So we're analyzing that to see whether we can get by without replacing those people. We did save more than $50,000 in our payroll services through this green implementation over the last 2 years. We did take a 3% cut in 2010 on our budget. We believe that we are living within that budget, and we will be returning about $60,000 this year in our budget. We returned about $118,000 in 2009. So we're being good stewards of our money. Now, at a cost, there's a cost for these kinds of things. Two of them are, in our bookkeeping, we had to lay some people off or not replace them. 3 days turnaround we used to have on our checks. It's now 2 weeks. We get calls. How come our checks aren't here? We need these checks. There is a cost to the general public, to other elected officials and their vendors. Weights and measures, we laid 2 people off. We're just getting by with inspecting things on consumer protection. I was at Apple's store doing grocery shopping Friday, and the manager came up to me and says, "Hey, when are you going to get these things inspected? People are wondering whether or not these weighing devices and scanning devices are working." The people are very much attuned to thinking, I may be getting ripped off. So in our budget this coming year, we had put in there for those 2 people to come back because they're sorely needed. But it depends on what you do to help us or if we have to maintain. For 2011, I've been doing some thinking about these. I noticed that our employment in the general fund has gone from 615 down to about 522 this year. And I must commend the commissioners and the department heads for trying to trim that down. These 93 people are a cost savings to the county. I would recommend maybe next year a hiring freeze unless it's absolutely necessary. And maybe you could implement something like a hiring freeze and recommend that to the other departments, to the other elected officials. If they choose to still hire somebody, maybe we would defer the hospitalization costs to them if they still want to hire somebody. There has to be maybe a little more discipline maybe on that kind of thing. I would recommend, I think about 60% of our costs in the general fund are salary related. 40%, give or take a little bit, is for contract services, supplies, capital improvements, and so on. I remember when Dave Moore first came in, there was some budgetary problems, and we did cut 10 to 20% from these line items. And I would recommend maybe instead of personnel costs, because we've all had to take a pretty big cut, and if you do lay more people off, the savings is not as great because you have to pay the unemployment. So I would recommend that we take a look at cutting these other services in the general fund. And that's about $20 million of expenditures. A 10% cut would be $2 million. So I noticed that many department heads are saying, we're returning money. Perhaps we just shouldn't give them as much. That would maybe help out.
Why don't you run that by me again, because I don't quite know how that would work. What you're
Well, you would
suggesting.
cut maybe the appropriation down on the supplies, contract services, office services, travel, gas. Instead of appropriating as much money, you would appropriate a little less.
What we've always done in the past, though, Mark, is allow the elected officials to.
Well,
review
that's why you're
transfers that-
elected commissioners. That's your choice.
Right.
I'm just saying, Dave Moore had done that in the past, and it was an item to help with the cost cuts. If you need to cut, can we cut some of these items? We're cutting into muscle and bone in the appraisal, not the appraisal, in the auditor's office. Lunchtime, you come in there where you have one person doing
Understood.
homestead, CAUV, transferring property. People get sick, they call in sick, they have to go on vacation. We are, we're having trouble manning those mandated services. Just a thought, just a
Well,
thought.
what we've done, Mark, on what you're saying is trying to get it done. Actually, our negotiations, we're in CERB now with our steel workers, and we've got a tentative agreement with UAW is going to the 8-hour workday, actually 8 hours work, 9 hours in the building, to try and make up the shortfall and getting all the work done. Now, are we getting all the work done? Still not getting it all done.
No.
But it's a 13% increase in
Right.
actually production or bodies here that we're hoping to
Right.
accomplish.
If
through that.
we could, get a little help on the revenue side, it would, Dan Talarik, his investment portfolio is really down.
As we'll find out this afternoon at 1
I'm
o'clock how
sure
bad.
and he's doing a great job, but when the government is pushing down the interest rates and we have short-term money to invest, we're not receiving any interest income on that, and that was a big part of the portfolio. Real estate has been, we are very much real estate dominated in our revenue at the county, besides the sales tax. We have auditor fees, treasurer fees, conveyance fees. We're very much real estate oriented. And just to give you, the county valuation has gone up for 2010 payable 11. So we're going to have a little higher tax base coming into next year.
What's our defaults on that not being paid? I mean, versus our estimated revenues on the evaluations? What kind of default rate is there where we're not getting paid?
Well, I think we worked with Mr. Talark on that. I think it's overall in the county, I think it's about 4%.
Okay.
3 or 4% overall in the county. Some entities, political subdivisions are a little more than others. Could be 5 or 6. Whenever they have a foreclosure action, all of those taxes have to be brought up to current in order for the bank to repossess the property. So the delinquencies are being paid, albeit a little bit slower than normal. So, but it's one of those, I was kind of pleasantly surprised that the value of the entire county went up a little bit. We've had some new construction come on the books, 600 new houses or so. And, maybe these are signs that things on the revenue side might help. So those are just some thoughts that I've put down here. So, we can get a little help on the revenue side. Our sales tax is doing a little better. So, if the big item in the room is this local government, if they cut that, and that could be, pretty dangerous for us. So
What are you hearing at your?
I haven't been down.
Association?
That's in next week.
Okay. Well, I'm serving on our board, CCO, and there's, the talk is at least 25% cut in LGF. That's what we're hearing everywhere. And I saw.
Well, and I think when we had a little revenue recognition meeting on the tax budget, we did take that into account. We raised some up, lowered some down. So I think we got a little better revenue estimate in the tax budget for you to work with. And that's the extent of my report.
Yeah, because we had an issue, I'm talking, because this is good, Mark, because you are the bookkeeper, the CPA for the county. When we started off the year, and right after February, March, we had a $500,000 lower of our certificate, which sort of put us on alert
Right.
as to where we were going to be revenue-wise, and we've actually peaked up a little bit, and then the U-Trust coming in at $3.5 million, and then some returns. So, I mean, I think we're doing okay on that.
Well, we
At least
always
the
start out a
revenue
little
numbers today.
conservative on the tax budget revenue estimate that you work with on the very first appropriations. We've had a little revenue meeting on that. We've tried to tweak it a little bit, make sure everybody's a little more realistic about, and there's always, some errors on that. That's a wish list more than anything. So the hard work I'm sure you're going to be doing in the next month. But we think that, if we can keep our budget what we have this year, we'll live within that and try to return as much as we can in 2011.
So when you gave us your budget for 2011, it's more of a wish list. It's not a reality budget.
Yeah, well,
because you were
within there, we need a new car.
more
We need a
than this
new.
year.
Yeah, it's more because we put bringing back those 2 weights and measure people in there. A car was put in there, and some of these, maybe a bookkeeping person to try to get, instead of waiting 2 or 3 weeks for your checks, that we get that thing. So that was in there, but all things being equal, if we can get by with what we had this year, it would be most appreciated.
Well, last week we had talked about everyone that came up, I would ask them how it would affect your department if we were to cut 10% in the salary. And the only reason why we do say salaries is because that's the only thing that doesn't have fixed expenses. Like you have to keep the lights on, you have rent, you have this, you have that. So those we have some set figures on those things, but you as an elected official always have the opportunity to transfer money from one account to salary account. So if we were, but now that these numbers keep coming in newly every day, like yesterday I found out about the $345,000
For the U-Trust account, right?
U-Trust account, and then you guys got together.
Now
and had a
that's
meeting
somebody
and
else's
increased
money,
Pardon me?
That's somebody else's money. It's been hanging around for 5 years in
But
the
it's
trust
unexpected
account.
to us.
Yes.
So
Mark, we always work on other people's money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So, I mean, just from
I'm
last
glad you
week,
said that. So.
from last week to this week, it doesn't seem as necessary to cut the 10% unless you have something, devastating
Well, I think
to tell us.
I
And now
would
you're saying
recommend.
our
I would recommend. You have to go through it. 60% is salaries, salary-related items. And I think we've done a good job even this year. Just looking at the county general fund payroll, if we can keep at that and maybe not replace or freeze, it's going to go a long way to helping on that 60% of the side. It's, maybe, should some of our vendors, supplies and so on, can we live with 10% less supplies? I think so.
I think you're right, Mark. I mean, we're down 20% in staffing. As you said, everything's slowing down in government, and that's what the public wants. I mean, we're trying to live within those numbers.
Mhm.
But I
And
don't
you've
know
done a
where
good
we-
job on that. I mean,
Every department.
10 or 11, all the departments, so.
So I don't know how we,
As just a suggestion.
I don't know how we expel another 10% of employees.
Mhm.
You're talking another 40 or 50 employees out of general fund and still operate county government. I don't see it happening, so.
Well,
Ted
we've
alluded
worked
to
with
the
your.
8-hour works, 8 hours paid that we've instituted in
Sure,
our.
we're gonna look at
Are you
that. We're gonna
because
look at
that is a
anything.
13% increase in productivity. I mean, and that's,
Absolutely. Mhm.
that'll help get some of that work done.
Okay.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Thanks, Mark, appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks for the good news this week on the U-Trust. Or
If you
thank
have-
Craig.
If you have any more, you can let us know. I don't see the coroner here.
I don't either.
I see Judy
What time is he
Hendricks
supposed to
here.
be here? Maybe he's,
10:15?
Judy, you want to
he's
go?
early. I mean, we're early.
We can move him right along.
Treasurer didn't show you anything. He's 10:30 is Dan.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Judy.
Morning, Judy.
Kind of a note, Ted, and all Commissioners, I just got back from my conference.
And did they speak highly of the Board of Commissioners?
Oh, they raved about Lorain County Board of Commissioners.
How about the CCAO?
Oh, yeah. And I sit on OCCO down in Columbus, so you kind of get a pulse for what's going on down there. And local government funds, I believe, are going to be cut. The rumblings that I heard at my conference was they're going to rely on the casino money. But that's not going to be generated till 2013. I know they have a forecast out there. I've seen it for what each county is going to get, but it's not pretty. It's, and our association has been working very hard to lift the burden with some legislation too. So I will get into the questions that you asked me. In 2003, when I became recorder, we had 23 employees. Today I have 13, and that includes me. I have one chief deputy, one administrative assistant, a microfilm specialist, which we are required by revised code to have, a computer systems manager, and 8 bargaining unit employees. In 2009, our efforts to react to the decrease in funding, I laid off 3 staff members, 2 full-time, 1 part-time. I have 1 employee on unpaid FMLA workers' comp until August 2011. Since February of 2005, I have not hired any staff. The administrative staff has been on a pay freeze, with the bargaining units only receiving contracted raises. 5 employees have retired, have not been replaced. I had a chief deputy resign. I filled that position with another staff member, did not fill her vacated position. And my office manager retired last year. The duties were split into other administrative staff. We've stepped up with keeping the costs down. We kind of bring our own cleaning supplies in, run the cleaner, but that's fine. That's something that we're ladies down there. We can clean.
Dave doesn't clean?
We can clean.
Dave doesn't clean?
I make him clean. Oh, I didn't know he was up here. We get the vacuum cleaner out for him. We discontinued the use of floor mat service, which we had to protect the carpet. And office supplies are ordered only as an as-need basis. We order film. We share the film cost with Kodak archive writer at the Record Center. And Mr. Cortez, can't remember what year, was so gracious to let us share that. And we're able to help the entire county film on the archive writer. So that is one contract expense we have, but we share with you, and we appreciate that. I have contracts in place with vendors to supply software and equipment. COT Systems is my vendor out of Columbus. Last year, they came in with a 7% increase. I got them down to 2%. We are technology in our office. We have 6 computers in the public workstation that have kind of died. We're going to try to fix them in-house. We have not ordered any new equipment. No staff training unless it's required. We've changed the way we handle our documents. I'm old school, coming from real estate in the auditor's office. You walk in, give us your document, you get it right back. That saves postage for the county, saves postage for the customer that's coming in. And it's kind of a scary thing, but it has worked. It's kept costs down, and the workflow goes better by being able to do that. I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you had a question for me. Cut our staff. That's how we've saved money. Not any pay raises. One other thing we're going to do on our supplies, the software vendor that we have, it's a label on the first page and last page of the document. I've worked a program out with them so it's an imprint. They'll be able to get on their way, and that'll save us a lot of money in supplies. We're not even ordering paper clips this year. Pick them up off the floor. Hey, you know, you got to do it. And I commend you for what you're doing to help me. We are the keeper of the veterans records here. I'm very proud to say that we serve the veterans. There is no cost to the veteran when they come in for their DD 214, and a lot of them are coming in. We have a new law. There's a benefit out there for them. 2010. We estimated 900,000. We're at 842,529. Our expenses were $630,000, approximately $300,000 over. Real estate is kind of an indicator, and I think the auditor can back me up on that. The last 2 months, we've been more documents, less people. We had a lineup at the counter, and that is something that you normally don't see in the recorder's office. We used to see it before, and with our staff, we're able to handle that. We will be able to return about $40,000 to you. So those are our budget numbers. Again, I commend you. We work very diligently and hard to serve the public as you do, and living within our means.
Doing a fantastic job, Judy.
I
You are. You really are.
Well,
I commend you for that.
like my job, and I like to serve the
community
public.
could hear what you have done in your department.
I'm sorry?
I said I wish the community out there could hear what you've done in your department to cut, because that's what they keep asking us. We want to see cuts, and that's exactly what you're doing.
We have, and I have a good staff that has stepped up. You know, we all pitch in to help, and I think going back to when you go down to Columbus, and I've been down there a lot the last few years, it's collaboration, it's pooling resources, you know, work together, it'll work out. We're coming back a little bit.
I think so, too.
Well, I
So-
think it's starting to uptick somewhat, but as Mark said, they're looking at possibly the 8-hour workday. within
We
the-
are,
the
yes,
bargaining units.
absolutely.
Activity of
Some of us are there till 5 or 5:30, so,
Anyway, yeah, anyway.
so, and we can certainly give that. That is not a lot to ask.
I just think serving the public, I mean, I've always been the guy that says government should be open from noon to 8 p.m. at night, because that way people don't take off work.
My love is serving the public. It always has been. And we just don't take documents, and there's people that come in and do research. We help them, and that's our love. That's why we're there.
I've
Do you-
been in your office, it's quite busy in there with people looking for.
I like it.
It's-
I like it busy.
Do you have a laminator by chance?
We do.
You do? Because I had run across a veteran over this past week who they shrunk down his DD 214
We
just
do
into
that.
a wallet size. Do you do that?
We do that, and there's different places. If you have that, you don't have to have your DD 214. They'll give you a discount. Home Depot, I think, is one of them. They use them at the fair, and they're
Yeah.
good bragging rights. I love my veterans.
Yeah. Okay,
So-
good to know. I'll send them
Okay.
down. Maybe lines will get longer now.
Okay, no problem.
All right, thank you.
I just wanted to mention, Judy, I have a secretary over at my office who has 3 boys at home, so she knows how to make all us boys in the prosecutor's office do our share of the cleaning. So if you have trouble with Dave, I'll just send her
Okay,
over.
we'll get the cleaner and the mop out and, but once again, Commissioners, I commend you on the good job you're doing and
Thank
look
you.
forward to working with you.
too.
Thank you, Judy. I see that our county coroner is here. Good morning, Dr. Mattis.
Good morning.
Paul.
I don't know what to actually say. We've been running this office on the cheap for many years,
And we thank you.
and I'm sincere about it. We get free storage from a private firm for bodies, many of our bodies. The hospital provides an enormous amount of free service for us. We do not pay for a single x-ray. One set of body x-rays on some individuals around $1,200, and they don't charge us. We have a very tiny budget, 400 and some thousand. It's been cut 50,000 in the last 2 years. We had 8 employees. We're down to 6. Everyone's part-time except for myself and my secretary. The guys are burning out. They're physicians making minimum wage. We don't have a uniform allowance. We provide our own clothing, our own shoes, ruin our good shoes, drive our own vehicles. We get $5,000 reimbursement for everybody for the whole year driving all over the county with our private vehicles. Whereas I notice the dog warden has $15,000 worth of free gasoline for their trucks and a budget almost equal to ours. I don't think people in this county think our services are important. So we don't know what to do. We've cut everywhere. I'm not ordering lab on half the cases I should. So when you have a teen party and 2 kids overdose and die, I'm not going to send lab out. That's $500-600. And our budget is empty now. I mean, across the board, I have almost no money left in any account. It's this way year after year. We have to transport. We do that on the cheap. I know Ashtabula County, they spend $25,000, $26,000 on transport. We spend $16,000. Their budget is $400,000 a year for 100,000 people. We have 300,000 people. They have 2 homicides a year. We have 14 or more a year. So it's a serious problem here, and I think I'd like to cut my hours. I'm tired of getting up at 2 and 3 in the morning, and 4 and 5 and 6. We had sometimes 5 times a night I'm woken up. And my doctors too. They're doing it for the love of the county. They're not doing it. I have a doctor, takes no benefits or anything, working minimum wage all year long, weekends, nights, holidays, for $18,000 a year. Last two Sundays ago, I have 5 people basically left in my department. 3 of us were in the morgue all Sunday evening, afternoon, evening on 2 different cases. This is not atypical. So go ahead and cut the budget, my budget, and that's fine, 10%, I don't care what. We won't pick up bodies. We'll just say, Sheriff, you guys can sit out there at midnight and 1, 2, and 3 and figure out how to get the bloody body from Rochester to wherever you want to take it. We can do that. I'm not, threatening. It's just that if we don't have money, I can't ask a livery service to pick up a body, drive out there, stand out in a cornfield for 4 hours, pick up a body, and then drive it someplace, and then not pay them. Maybe we can reduce our hours. No coroner calls after 11 p.m. I would relish that after all these years. I really would.
I'll bet you would.
We have the dog catchers open from 10 until 6 in the daytime. Nearly a $400 and some $1,000 budget.
They're not a general fund department. You understand that?
I realize that, but I'm giving a comparison of service.
Well, I wouldn't. Why would you compare yourself to the dog pound?
Because
we have an important service that involves medical legal cases, justice and putting bad people in jail, and getting insurance reimbursement for people who die in crashes, and civil liability suits and all that, and our budget is equal. And it's nearly impossible to do it on this kind of money unless we cut more services. And that would be, I mean, would you like to have, like I said, a drug case with a bunch of teenagers doing drugs and one or two kids ends up dead and we don't send out the toxicology? Or a car crash and I don't send out the toxicology, and then the sheriff and the lawyers and the family said, well, was he impaired or was he not impaired? Did he have coke? And we're getting 4 or 5 drugs on lots of people. Cocaine, other types of opiates, tranquilizers, marijuana, and alcohol. 4 or 5 drugs. Each one of these add up. Sometimes just a confirmation on a simple drug test is around $400 for one drug. And we have 3, 4, and 5 drugs in many people. But if we don't care about that, then I'll just say they had a car crash, I guess, and they died of that. And I don't know whether they were impaired or not. So that's basically, I can compare myself to another medical thing if you don't like the dog pound. They get $6,000 uniform allowance and $35,000 in their budget for advertising. You know, I want to be your coroner today. You know, I could advertise too, I guess. But the tuberculosis clinic, another medical establishment.
You missed it. We were talking about them this morning.
Well,
before you got here.
nearly close to $800,000 budget for 1 to 3 cases of tuberculosis in the
Gee,
county.
maybe we can-
Ohio's not even tracking tuberculosis anymore in the state because we have so few cases. $700,000, and I'm scraping around and having doctors ready to quit. What? It doesn't seem fair. Well, it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous amount of tax money. I don't care where the revenue comes from. It comes from someplace in Lorain County.
Absolutely.
And that needs to change. Well, at least I think it does. I don't know about anyone else.
And who are you but the coroner?
Yeah, well, I have the responsibility, and when people get murdered, it's very complex. We have, I mean, this isn't catching a mutt and putting it in a cage. We have to prepare scientific documents and do scientific testing and back it up and go to court. And I spend hours and hours and hours preparing and trying to get justice and do a good job in court. Not uncommon that I spend 40, 48 hours a weekend working on autopsies and preparing them for court presentation. So we have what I thought was an important job, and
it is.
Thank you. But most people would rather have their potholes filled, and they don't care about it until it's their family member. And you wouldn't believe the demands we
Absolutely.
get.
Right.
We get chewed out if someone shoots themselves in a chair and the body sits there for 15 minutes. Why didn't you move them? Why didn't you move them? Why don't you do something? Why don't you do something? We want this. We want toxicology. We want a full autopsy. We want this. We want this. Grandma's 92. She died. We want a full autopsy. Maybe she's got a genetic problem that'll affect her grandkids. We demand it. As a public service, you do an autopsy on a 92-year-old. We're getting this every single day. So when their ox is getting gored, then it becomes important. The rest of the time, we don't care. So I think I cannot transport, and then we got to figure out a mechanism for telling every family member who has a loved one they're distraught. Poor farm lady with her husband dead in the bed, like this. I've already had 3 cases this morning. You figure it out. You call someone and get the body out of here. I can't make any decision. I've got Alzheimer's. I don't know what to do. What do we do? And the sheriff's deputy's saying, let's move this body. Let's move this body. What am I supposed to do? It costs money to move that body. Let me tell you. And our livery service is charging half of the going rate in Ohio for us. People have no idea. So I can tell the lady, you figure it out, call a funeral home, even though you're not prepared to make a decision and you have Alzheimer's and your son's in Seattle. Go ahead, you figure it out. And then, or if you want us to haul, we'll figure out a mechanism for billing you. We can do that through the county, right? Send a bill to the citizen and say pay delivery service for picking up the body. Maybe we can start charging for storage. It costs me storage every body that goes in the morgue. That's not autopsy services and fees. I have to pay for every body that we just store for 2 hours until they make up their mind. We can charge that to the families too, I guess. So, and then we can cut our hours and don't bother calling me after midnight because between 6 a.m. and midnight, I get plenty of calls. Everyone goes home at 4 or 5. My day, well, it starts early, but it really starts when people come home from work and find Uncle Joe dead. Or their teenager has been sleeping since noon and is now sleeping until 5 p.m. and the dad comes home and finds him at 5:30. My evening starts, so I don't eat supper. I'm back at the morgue. I'm over in Avon Lake, and then I get a call to go to New London in my own private vehicle. 275,000 miles on my vehicle. That's fine. I do it. So I don't know what else to say except that if you guys agree, I won't be doing a very good job as a coroner, and I'm going to make a lot of people very angry. And I think that's okay. I think that's okay now because I don't know what else to do except not order any more lab. And our lab is cheap. I mean, I've got a really good deal with a lab in Pittsburgh, and we're only spending like $22,000, $25,000 a year on lab. That's minimum. And this year I ordered about half the lab I should have called, for, and people are angry, and they keep calling me up. What's the toxicology? I didn't run it. What? You didn't run toxicology? How do you want me to pay for it? So, and these things are crucial. I just got strong-armed into ordering an extra toxicology on a patient where the police think there's something foul play involved. And I think that's okay, but it's really not going to change the diagnosis yet. They call up and beg and demand a toxicology, so okay, it's a special send-out. It goes to the eastern side of Pennsylvania. The only people can do it, and I don't know how I'm going to pay for that either. But so cutting my hours would be good. No more coroner calls from midnight until 8 a.m. Or maybe I should just work 10 till 6 and nothing after 6 so I can have an evening home occasionally. And then no more lab and no more transport and no storage. You either figure out a funeral home instantaneously or you pay for storage yourself. Those are my options. We have a very...
Those done in other counties, Paul, you're saying things, I know it's out of anger in the budget, but I mean, are any of those things being done in other counties where the billing goes back to? You gotta ask the question, you brought it up, where...
Yeah, I don't know if they are.
Okay.
I don't know if they are.
State association or anything, if these, I mean, we're not the only county who's cutting, so I'm sure
Yeah,
there's other
no.
counties going through the same issues.
I understand that.
I just didn't know if you had a for example or...
No,
best
I know
practice.
that, like I said, I mean, we have 300,000 people nearly. We have lots of big cities, lots of trauma, lots of strange socioeconomic and cultural things, relationships going on here where people take drugs and beat each other up and get killed and have shootouts. It's very complex. It's not like most of the rural counties. We're like 6th or 7th largest county in the state. We have a budget that's laughable. Cuyahoga County, $7 million. Plus, they get a whole building provided for them. Once they have the staff, they have the economy of scale. They hire enough people, they just sit around, and they can do as many cases as they feel like it. They work from 8 until 4:30. They're doctors at $60,000, $70,000 more than the coroner's pay is here in Lorain County, and they go home at 4:30 every evening. And that's it. They literally do. They have 27 investigators. I'm one of the only counties in the state that doesn't even have an investigator. Ashtabula has 2. They used to have 3. They had to get rid of one. But most counties have 4 or 5 investigators, 3 or 4 investigators. I have none. Got rid of the investigator. Got rid of one of our doctors. I might have to get rid of another doctor if the budget's cut anymore because I don't know what else to do. So comparing to other counties, it's amazing. Ashland, Medina County, Huron County, Erie County, none of them do autopsies. I'm the only one that does autopsies in northern Ohio, north of Akron, besides Cleveland and Toledo. That's at my own time and expense and expertise and extra hours and risk. Because I'm running into HIV positivity all the time, I work on a person and then I find out from the mother calls me and says, oh, by the way, she's got hepatitis C positive. So we're exposed to all this. We don't really have any equipment. Any equipment that I use in the field, we have to buy our own, kind of covering and stuff. to protect ourselves from god-awful, disastrous messes, which you can only imagine. So a lot of counties, the docs have an answering service and say, oh, you got a dead person in Willard? Fine. Have delivery service take it to Toledo. Bye. End of case. Back to bed. We're one of the few counties that has actual living, breathing, talented expert physicians showing up at the scene. Query your law enforcement and tell how comforting that is to have a 50, 55-year-old physician who's used to trauma, knows all about the medical complications, can look at 45 pill bottles and tell you what they're for and the consequences of it. And those people show up on the scene and assist these young officers, and we have a lot of young officers. The Vietnam era police officers are retiring in droves. I'm seeing officers, first responders, guys in charge of death scenes now have never seen a death, never seen a suicide, and they're young enough to be my grandchild with very little experience. So having an experienced man or woman on the scene is very important to the law enforcement. But name another county that sends a physician out? Dr. Belraj, in all the years she was at Cuyahoga, from the 70s until she retired, went to 2 cases outside of her building. One was a police officer who was shot, and there was a riot, and there was another one where she was forced to go to the scene. We go to the scene and evaluate because it's very complex. Everybody has a conspiracy theory, and everyone who dies of natural death has been killed because the girlfriend wants his money. So she snuffed him. She put something in his drink. It's not really a suicide. She snuck up on him and shot him in the mouth while he was snoring. Even though there's a suicide note, it doesn't matter. It's very complex. So I'm giving you all these scenarios, and I could go on and become very vivid about the situations that we deal with. And I don't know what the answer is, except that we could do it another way, not transport, not order lab, not take call. It would be very, very helpful to us. My doctors use their own cell phones even. They pay for their own cell phones. I have 2 doctors drive their cars all over the county. They never even submit for the mileage reimbursement for the so much per mile.
And you're saying those doctors are making minimum wage?
Yeah.
Real minimum wage?
Well, $18,000. Dr. Patterson, Dr. Lockhart, $19,000, something like that. Yeah. And they put in far more hours than a 40-hour work week. Because just on a weekend, the calls start early in the morning and we can be busy right up until midnight or beyond. And they're doing it. Bless their hearts. And a couple of them have said, well, Paul, if you leave, we're leaving. I'm not staying here. This is crazy. I'm doing it for you. One of my doctors, Dr. Evans, is absolutely incredible, one of the most talented physicians in the county, truly. And he's told me, only reason I do this is because of you, for our friendship, because I'm willing to support you. So, and I feel guilty about asking these people to do these things. So we can run it a different way, I guess. Have a clerk, I don't know what, take calls, answering service at night, and tell the sheriff, you guys figure it out.
Last year when you were up here, you had talked about having to transport to Cuyahoga County and how much they were charging.
Yeah, are we
still up against that?
Every year. That's a state law, as Jerry has told you all. And all these accidents, we had a 4-victim fatality, tragically, on Baumhart Road recently. The little girl, Riley, was taken to Cuyahoga, where she expired. Well, now they autopsied little Riley, send me a bill for $1,200. So we owe them $16,000, over $16,000 now as of August. So we have August, September, October, November, 4 more months. And I know of 7 or 8 cases that they haven't billed us for.
Is that budgeted?
No.
That's above and beyond your budget?
Yeah. So I told Dawn, my secretary, don't pay Cuyahoga anymore. We haven't paid them since the springtime, because I could see the handwriting on the wall. Because if we steal from, we don't get equipment. Some of these departments have big equipment budgets. We get nothing in the equipment budget. I bought my first photocopier in 10 years for $300 and some. And that's about it. And I anticipate somewhere between $20,000 and $22,000 for Cuyahoga. That in Ashtabula and Lake County, it's billed directly from Cuyahoga to the county commissioners, to the general fund in those other counties. We've been taking it out of our budget, and I just can't do that because then I can't pay my livery service, who have been very good. They pay their men, not what they should be paid. There's no way in heck you would do, any of us in this room would do what those men do. Waiting around in slop, and it's just unbelievable. And I would not be able to pay them if I took that money and sent it over to Dr. Frank Miller in Cuyahoga County. So, yeah, we have that problem, and I don't know what the answer to that is. They do, we had a definite overdose here with a person who had a needle hanging out of their arm, but there was some minimal viability left in this individual, supposedly. Tons of pill bottles, they were scooped up, helicopter was called, they were transferred to Cuyahoga. Urine screen in the Metro showed that they were full of drugs. Well, after a few days in the intensive care, the individual died, was taken to Cuyahoga. Of course they autopsied. Of course they autopsied. Why the heck not? They've got 8 doctors sitting around, and they may as well go do a quickie post on a healthy young person, even though the answer was in the toxicology, and they knew it. And they have their own tox lab that costs them a fraction to do it. So instead of just doing a
kind of at their mercy.
We're at their mercy. Now, I was angry about that, and that was like one of 3 cases in a 2-day period that did the same thing. So they did an autopsy on a person that didn't really need an autopsy. Of course, those people say everyone needs an autopsy. That's what they do. And I would not have done an autopsy on that. And you can criticize me for that. But we do a gross examination looking for bruising, choke marks, scratches, stab wounds, knife, all the physical things that we can do that are inexpensive that we do with our own eyes and hands. And then we order toxicology. So in that case, we would have been out of that case for maybe $200 or less. Now I got a $1,200 bill. And I wouldn't have done that one. We've had people who have been on motorcycles and decapitated in a single vehicle accident on icy roads and hit a guardrail. For some reason, the body's picked up, taken across Lorain County line into St. John's West Shore. They pronounce them there. Go to Cuyahoga and get an autopsy, $1,200. Cause of death is obvious, and they can justify doing an autopsy, and they will, and they send us the bill, and they say, why not? I can't do a thing about those things. That's just one part of our problem. And that's not even addressing the other parts of the problem. So, if you want to know any more details, I'll tell you. But that's basically the state of it, and it's fine. I will make any adjustments that you guys need to make for as long as I can. And then I don't know what's going to happen after that. But I appreciate your listening, and I wanted to get out, and people have no idea.
And I think they need to hear.
Yeah, I do too.
What's happening.
Yeah.
And you've been a very, very good public servant.
Thank you.
People need to know what you do on their behalf.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Go home and get some sleep.
Well, good morning. A little hard to come up after the coroner's spoken about all the problems that he's had and what's going on.
Makes your life seem wonderful, doesn't it?
Honestly, it does, and I can't even try. I'm not even going making any cracks about anything because how sober it was, and it was very, very sad. Tell you the truth, sitting back there, and I imagine you've heard many, many other stories like that from other departments.
Not like that.
We're not as bad off as everybody else, and I'm not going to hopefully take too much of your time. The budget that you have in front of you for 2011 that we gave you in May is the exact budget that we have right now, except for $4,000 for computer training and $10,000, I guess, for computer equipment, which, needless to say, we don't necessarily need. At the time, we thought we might need it, but we don't at the present.
I'm looking at a $40,000 difference. Am I looking
You
at the
got
wrong
40,
thing?
which one? I'm looking at the one that I thought I turned in, would be $466,000.
No, mine's showing 488.45.
480, if you take off $14,000, we'll take it down to $466,000.
So you're at 466,000?
Mm-hmm. And that's what we have this year. The only other change on what was presented was we're going to reduce the interest income from 1.9 million to 1.7. That still would generate over $2.5 million out of the treasurer's office, which all goes to the county general fund.
Thank you.
So as you're speaking, I know that evil 10% may be cut on some of the different departments and whatever. We're kind of a small group, and if we have to do the 10%, I imagine there's some way we can do it. We've done it in the past, and as much as we do believe we're just as important as everybody else, I can probably prove it to you while I leave if I go downstairs and lock the vault and shut the lights off. Nobody gets paid, none of the revenue comes in, and none of the vendors get paid, and the county shuts down.
So you are pretty important.
A little bit.
Is that what you're trying to say?
We all have a certain.
That's right. We all believe all of us are very important around here, and we all try to just let everybody know that a little bit.
We
Well,
are
Dan,
part
your
of a
only
team.
increases-
But we are a team. I didn't
Your
say
only
anybody was
increases,
more
Dan.
important. I said we're all somewhat important.
Question, your only
Yes.
increases are basically in salaries, PRS workers' comp. Is that bargaining unit increases coming? Is that what it is?
That's what it would be.
Okay, so you have, how much time do you have left on your contract?
Our contract expired.
Oh, you're expired. Okay, so those aren't anything then. There is
No.
no.
This is, unless I've done something extremely wrong, the 466,000 that we presented is basically the same that I'm sitting here with.
Okay,
We
but
did have to move, we
2010
did,
was 440.
pardon?
2010 budget was 440,859. And now you're saying at 466.
When I added them up, and, I'm not very good with numbers, I ended up with 466,000 off of it. Now, you have to remember that we move money from different, bouncing around, so if you're
Right.
just if you're just looking at the payroll, and you're looking at the workman's comp, and you're looking at the PERS, yes, money was moved from other line items to make sure that that was all met over the year. As you know, that one of the problems we've had over the past few years was that the payroll amounts that we received, the PERS was not at 14%, which
Right.
it should have been. And I'm very happy to hear that's all going to be taken care of for the following year, because that added additional having to move monies around. One, to move something from somewhere to going into the payroll, and then you have to match that by putting something in the PERS. So basically, we are at the same.
You said that your contract's expired. Mark Stewart was up here a few minutes ago, and he was talking about hiring freezes and maybe pay freezes. Is that something? I know we can't force any other elected official to do certain things, and we also were talking about, I don't think you were here yet, about the 8 hours of work for 8 hours of pay.
So I believe that's still kind of, that's a question that SERB's going to have to answer that one.
Right.
Currently.
We have a tentative agreement with the United Auto Workers on that subject, though, and they've agreed to that.
Well,
So
we're with the steel workers.
the steel workers is still at SERB.
Yeah, we're at SERB, and that's who the union that represents the treasurers.
Oh, okay.
So that's why we're sitting on that at the moment.
What about the
currently,
pay freeze and?
Nobody's gotten a raise since that contract expired,
Okay.
including the elected officials.
Yes. Well, we don't
You guys know
determine that or
Yeah.
not. We don't get to determine that.
I know
so.
you don't,
Okay.
or I'd really be arguing up here. But, no, not at all.
Board of
So,
Revision
no,
too?
pardon
Are you
me?
doing Board of Revision
Now we're gonna do
also?
Board of Revision,
Oh,
yes.
okay. Let me get to that
How's
paperwork.
that? Ted keeps looking at that clock. Board of Revision. This past year, we had $80,247 was given to the Board of Revision. 2011, and 96,137's been requested. That's total for payroll, workman's comp, et cetera. That was done because this is one of those wild shots. How many cases we're going to receive? This past year we had 1,200 cases. As you recall, 2 years ago when you sat on the board, Lori, and Mrs. Blair, you sat this year, that we had 1,200. Maybe they heard Mrs. Blair was coming, so they didn't want to add file. I don't know, something like that. So we had only 1,200. They were able to get the work out, and we did not have to request any additional funds. I imagine if we were still given the $80,247, which again was given to us this year compared to for the year 2011, we should basically get by.
Okay, good.
Question, comments? That's it?
It's an $80,000 budget.
That's the
There's
easy
not a
one.
whole lot of cuts
No,
there.
that's what I said. There's not much you can do
No,
there,
it
and
sure
there's
isn't.
not much at all.
Okay,
No questions?
thanks, Dan.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan. We'll see you at 1 o'clock.
Yes,
All right.
we shall.
Hopefully you'll have good news for us then.
That's it?
Oh,
I move we go into executive session.
Commissioner, may I add one thing that I forgot to
Sure,
share with the
sure.
board? Piece of not so exciting news, as
Oh,
the
no, you
board,
can't then.
as the board is aware,
No.
there was no extension of unemployment benefits that came out of the House. And on December 1st of this year, I need to inform you that 10,000 people in Lorain County will be affected and will lose benefits beginning December 1st.
Is there,
10,000.
is there any hope that the Congress might readdress the issue
I-
between now and?
I really can't address that. We're trying to assess the impact through workforce development. We've had discussions with Mary Lou over Job and Family Services, the state folks. But that's a pretty startling number, and I don't think that it's out there. But 10,000 people in Lorain County will stop receiving benefits December 1st. Secondly, we're trying to tease out information about the job market and things, why we're not being as successful as we need to be with getting more people engaged to workforce development. And another startling figure that was dropped was that 38,000 people in Lorain County do not have a high school diploma or a GED. It's hard to qualify a lot of things that have happened, but these numbers are pretty startling when you figure out that there's, I think, roughly 300, a little bit over 300,000, 305,000 residents, and I can't tell you how many of them are youths that are not independent. So if you take that number as to what a percentage of the adult population it would be, or independent, considered independent, it's a staggering number. And
Probably
that
20 or 22% of the working population, the first 150,000.
It-
The rest are under and the rest are seniors.
it could be. So, and those are good numbers. 38,000 without a GED or a high school diploma, and now 10,000 that are going to be without benefits come December 1st. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I thought that I needed to share that information with you.
Judy, I found a paperclip on the floor for you. Okay. I move we go into executive session for the purposes outlined by the administrator and, did you have, and the assistant county prosecutor.
Second.
Ms. Blair?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Ms. Kowski?
aye.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda. Carpooling, a great way to save on fuel, tolls, and parking. Serving 13 counties, secure and safe Ohio rideshare makes it easy to connect with carpool partners safely. You control information shared. Discuss your destinations and needs through our safe site. Carpooling reduces pollution and traffic congestion, while it lowers stress and gives riders time to read, work, sleep, socialize. 1-800-825-RIDE or register online at ohiorideshare.com. Point, click, ride.
Hey, buddy, how you doing there? Here, have a treat, okay? No one can deny the loving devotion we get from our dogs, and I think we all agree we get back more love than we give them. I'm Dick Goddard. I'm reminding you, if you share your love with a dog, you'll never regret it. There's really nothing like a dog to spark up your life, whether you're a youngster, a senior citizen, or somewhere in between. And dogs have a whole lot of affection to share. Okay, is that good? You don't have to go far to hear heartwarming adoption stories.
With my husband is like saying man's best friend. He truly loves that dog. He feels it's part human. It's his second daughter, as Erica said. It's definitely a prize. She's queen of the house, basically. She's a good lover. She gives us a lot of attention. She's a good girl.
We had a cat before we had Abby, and Abby adapted very well. She is best friends with that cat. She will not harm that cat in any way. She's amazing. I love her. When I'm in bed at night, Abby will jump up with me and she will pull the covers back and she will lay under the covers and lay her head on the pillow just like a human.
I encourage anyone to go to the Lorain County Kennel to adopt a dog. It's given our family great satisfaction and a great reward.
After, you know, a bad day at work or anytime you come home, it's just always nice. They kind of turn your mood around when you come in the door, and they wagging their tails and jumping on you, and it's a great feeling to know that they're happy to see you and that they love you just as much as you love them. She is good with our other dog. She's good with people. She likes attention, and she likes to cuddle up with you.
It's funny when Lily, when you kind of discipline her sometimes when she does something bad, or she always seems to roll on her back and put her paws in the air and just look up at you with a sad look. So it's kind of hard to even get mad at her when she does something like that. So we kind of laugh at that.
And it's always amusing when she does get a spurt of energy and want to run around, and we're always like, oh my gosh, Lily's gonna play now.
Yeah,
so
like sometimes, like when I'm on the couch or whatever, and she'll hop down, and she always like tries to bite her own tail, and then that kind of like keys on our other dog, Rocky, to chime in and try to, you know, bite at her tail a little bit, and then they start playing around a little bit.
One day we came home with some food from, I just really wanted a burger. So we had a burger and I had it sitting on the tray table by the couch, and I got up for a minute and got a drink, came back, and Lily was licking her lips. She had eaten the whole thing, and I was not very happy with her. So I screamed and told Kurt to come down and get her away from me because I was just so upset. But we both lived, and I was fine afterwards. One of the best things about adopting a dog from the kennel, at least for us, was, again, just giving this dog, who knows what would have happened to her, a new life, and also giving our other dog a companion during the day. It's just fun to have the two dogs and take them for walks and watch them play, and it brought us closer as well.
You know, it just makes you feel better as a person that, you know, you're giving a dog a better chance to live a life.
actually I enjoy the exercise because I need to, trying to lose weight. Salem makes me get out of the house every day. And so I have to take him for a walk, even if I don't want to. And he's not that much trouble because he was pretty much housebroken when I got him from the pound. I really like the older pet because Salem was kind of, whoever had him before, they really kind of housebroke him. So I didn't really have to go through the potty training deal. I just had to let him out and find a place for him to go. And I think older pets, especially for people who don't have children, are kind of good because Salem, he's real playful, but he's not, he gets tired and he lays down and he doesn't want to be bothered, and that's fine with me. So he's not always wanting to play, you know, because puppies have a lot of energy. And Salem has quite a bit of energy, but sometimes he just lays on his pillow and he's like, don't bother me, I won't bother you. And sometimes when he wants to play, he wants to play, and that's okay. I got Salem at the Lorain County Dog Pound. I found him on the internet, actually. They had his picture on the internet, and so I called and he was still there, and so I immediately went over and looked at him. We went outside and played, and he jumped in the car and wouldn't get out, and there we were. So we were on our way home. So it was love at first sight. He's a very good companion. I can always depend on him to be here and greet me with, you know, open arms when I come in the door. He's very protective of me, and he lets me know when anyone is outside or in the driveway. So I feel safe with Salem. You know, even though he's a small dog, he gives me a safe feeling just in my own home. If I'm having a bad day sometimes and I'm just not in a real good mood, you know, he'll come up and snuggle up to me like, hey Mom, it's okay. I think other people should adopt a pet, and even an older dog. The Lorain County Pound has so many wonderful dogs. All you have to do is go over there and look. I mean, even now, I still go on the website and I tell Salem, don't you want a little brother or sister? Because they have all these little cute dogs over there, and they all need good homes. And if you're looking to adopt a pet, I suggest you try the Lorain County Dog Pound first. I mean, you pay for the license and just a nominal fee, and you got a great dog and a great companion and somebody that's going to be in your life for the rest of your life, and they'll love you no matter what.
Hello, my fellow commissioners and I are here at the Lorain County Dog Kennel on Hadaway Street, just south of Elyria City Discount, Value City. We invite you to stop out and see the facility here. We have lots of dogs available for adoption. We also encourage all dog owners to register your dog each year and get a dog license. That's your dog's ticket home in case it gets lost. It has a number and can easily be identified so that your dog can be returned to you in case he or she might take a little walk and you are unaware of it.
Along with the regular licensing that the county requires for all dogs, we also have a special dog license. It's a special heart medical care license tag for an additional $5. And the proceeds from that go to help us when we pick up a stray that's injured, hurt, or needs extreme medical care. It helps defer the cost for us. So next time you get your dog license, please pick up the special heart tag.
The Lorain County Commissioners would like to welcome you to come down to the Lorain County Dog Kennel. We also have a website that you can check out. Just click on Dogs to Adopt. There's plenty of dogs to choose from. Just like this little girl right here. This is Sadie. You can come down, make sure it's a good match for you, take the dog out, take it for a walk. But please, if you're thinking about adopting a dog, come out to the Lorain County Dog Kennel and see if there's a match for you.
Give the Lorain County Dog Kennel a call or check their website for photos of currently available dogs. Remember, your best friend is just waiting for you.
Pedestrian injuries represent the second largest number in motor-related deaths. In the current report by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, of the 812 traffic fatalities for children ages 5 to 9, almost 1/3, that's 254, were pedestrian fatalities. These numbers were just very staggering to me in this office. Most of these were from pedestrian crossings, children not educated in crossing streets where there are sidewalks and obviously stoplights, or where there are no sidewalks and there are stop signs. So basically, it was based on the fact that they aren't getting proper education, or they hadn't any education on how to cross streets with sidewalks or without sidewalks. So that's what really got us motivated to look into this and do something about it.
County Engineer's Office is quite proud to announce that the Safe Routes to School program has been initiated throughout Lorain County. We're very excited about this. To help these children from grades K to 4, teaching them to walk the streets safely is very important to us. We've seen statistics that quite frankly shock us. Many times we read and see stories of pedestrians being hit by automobiles in Lorain County, and it just tears my heart to see these children from K to 4 part of that. This program is to stop that, to help diminish those type of situations, and to educate these children on crossing the street safely. And we're quite happy to announce that.
Most of our workshop was developed and made in-house. Simulated sidewalks, simulated streets. We have actual working stoplights. We have the pedestrian crossing signs that actually work. We have operational railroad crossings. We also have the regular road signs, like your pedestrian crossing, your stop sign, your railroad sign. So we have all of these different things that the children can not only visualize, but then we actually interact the children in those situations so they can not only see, but they can use these in their learning abilities on how to cross the streets with and without sidewalks. We've had so many good responses back from the children, and of course it's just like anything else with children. When you ask for volunteers, when you're talking in a group of 60 and you can only have 8, it's amazing at the hands that go up. You know, does anybody want to volunteer? Well, everybody wants to volunteer. We make them go over these skills that we're trying to teach them, not only the volunteers, but the group as a whole. So basically we have the whole class interacting. So if they say left, right, left, behind you, in front of you once, they say it at least 8 or 10 times before the workshop is over. So we've had many teachers and many principals tell us, and we even had one child that came up to us and said, you know what, Miss Spansky, we were going to cross the street the other day and we remembered, look left, look right, look left. So that was very rewarding. And so I think the repetition, the interaction with the children and with the items in our workshop is very important to them and to us. Before you even go into the safety part of it, they're in awe over the traffic light, and then our railroad crossing signals actually work. So they're just like, oh, ooh. And we get up there and we tell them, and we even give them some trick questions. You know, we'll say, well, we can see that train all the way down the track. Do you think we can make it? Because you're fast and I'm fast and we can run. And of course they're very enthusiastic and no, we shouldn't do this. So we teach them that in some urban areas you will not have the gates that come down to keep you actually from crossing, that you may just have 2 sets of tracks, and just because one goes by and the signals stop doesn't mean that another one can't come from the other direction. So we tell them it's very, very imperative that they stay back from the tracks and they wait till those signals stop and to look both ways. And even once those signals stop, to look both ways, and they should never run across the railroad tracks. They should walk and continue to look both ways, because it's not safe, and they could fall. They could injure themselves. If they're alone, if they're not with someone, it could be very dangerous, because not only could they injure themselves, they may not have help if there is a train coming, because they are so small. And as you know, some of those tracks are very large, and you're talking in kindergarten through 4th grade, some of those children are very small children. The main thing is that we tell them that only you know when it's safe. You have to make that ultimate decision. So make sure that you know that it's safe before you cross those railroad tracks or a street. One of the other things that we cover in the safety workshop, and it's also repeated in our video, children don't have that perception of the miles per hour. It's very dangerous. And the same thing with trains. We tell them that train could take, forever. It's way down there, but we don't know the actual miles per hour. We decided to use 2 different videos. The first one is geared for kindergarten and 1st grade, and that is Otto the Otto, put out by AAA.
Hi kids! A lot of times you have to walk to get to places. And when you're walking, you have to be especially careful of cars and bicycles. Oh no! Those kids are walking the wrong way! That's dangerous. I'm going to talk with these kids. Down at the clubhouse, they're talking about the safe way to walk on streets without sidewalks.
I say you can walk across the street anywhere you want, as long as you look first. And don't get squished flat by a car. That's a fairly simple way of looking at safety. There are actual rules and laws for walking. Yeah, but the most important one is you don't get squished flat. Who's right, Maggie? Patrick or us?
I guess in a sense, everyone's right. The main idea is to get there safely, but there are some rules to help you get there safely, like don't run out into the street without looking.
The second video, we show 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade, and it is put together by the National Safety Council along with Honda, and they developed the first humanoid robot.
Hey, Osmo. What's up, Osmo? How's it going? Osmo, this is Michael. Michael, this is Osmo.
How come you dressed in a robot suit? It's not a suit. I'm a real robot. My name, Osimo, stands for Advanced Step in Innovative Mobility. I'm the world's most advanced humanoid robot. I can walk forwards, backwards, and even climb stairs just like a human. So, what's the first rule about crossing the street?
Stopping at curbs.
Correct. First, always stop at the curb. Then make sure no cars are coming. You want to look left.
It's clear.
Then right to see if any cars are coming from the other direction.
That's clear too.
Cars move fast. There might already be a new car to the left. So look left again.
Car coming.
See what I mean?
Okay, he's gone.
Kids love this. They relate to Osmo, as well as the younger children relate to Otto, who is an animated automobile, and he tells them about crossing streets. Osmo does the same thing, and he actually goes through with the children and tells them how to cross the street at an intersection with a traffic light, with a pedestrian crossing. He also teaches them how to cross, because a lot of children at schools have parked cars. He goes over the issues of how to cross when there are parked cars. So he does a number of different things, how to cross the street when there are no sidewalks. So they both cover the basic skills. One is just geared a little bit more for the different age groups. Our response has been amazing, not only from the children. We have received numerous cards. I have a whole box of thank yous from children from the schools where we have that have participated in our workshop. We've had nothing but a positive response back throughout the communities that we visited this year.
I think it was really nice because they had a real life robot
talk to you about safety, and you got to actually do what he said was safe. He said when there are parked cars to make sure there are no drivers in before you cross the street.
I saw that we could know what to do when there's like cars coming, not to go in the middle of the road so you don't get hurt. You have to look left, right, left, behind the shoulder, and then straight. If they don't know how to stop at sidewalks, then I'll tell them how to. If they don't know how to cross without sidewalks, then I'll tell them how to do that too, because that's what we learned. I think that it was good because I didn't know that you had to look 5 ways, which were left, right, left, and going over your shoulder, and then ahead of you. I thought that crossing the road was really good for little kids if they don't know what to do by crossing the road.
It's a good idea because, like I said, the kids could walk through the whole process of crossing streets with the crosswalk, without a crosswalk, at the intersection. What happens if you're crossing in between 2 parked cars? Those are things that parents don't teach their kids. They go to Safety Town and they learn left, look right, look left again, and they go. And even my own son, who's a kindergartner, he just did Safety Town, and I still catch him flying across the street. And all I have to do is say, Matthew, remember Osimo? And he stops and he thinks and he does all the steps that he was taught in the video.
It was a great refresher, especially for them, now knowing, what to do and kind of even additional things that they may not have been told or considered before.
Most of the kids did their little safety program back when they were getting ready to go to kindergarten. They start out learning all those safety rules. Then as time goes on, if you don't reinforce those safety rules and keep telling them, just like we do as adults, we think we're safe. We don't have to follow those rules anymore. We can do what we want. We can take a chance and run across the road. And I think this program was very good at reinforcing the fact that even though we're growing up, we still have to be careful. We still have to follow the signs. We still have to follow the railroad crossings, especially around here in Amherst. We tend to have a little trouble with the railroad crossings and kids wanting to play on them. So I think it was a good review. I think it was done in a fun, learning way, and the kids really enjoyed it. We were very happy to have everyone here at St. Joseph's School.
If it saves one life, we feel like we've made a contribution. It's our way to give back to the communities.
Small towns, urban fringe and suburban developments, rural communities across the country, a small mining village in the Northwest, coastal residential areas. Across America, communities have learned that sewers and central wastewater treatment plants are not the only way to have a comfortable standard of living. A well-organized community on-site wastewater management system, or OMS, can ensure public health, enhance water quality, protect property values, sustain the environment, and accommodate growth for the long term. Examples abound nationwide. Some communities have implemented an on-site wastewater management system from the beginning. Others have developed an OMS to address specific concerns or to correct failing conditions. All are successfully using wastewater treatment systems located in or near their own yards. But are on-site systems a modern way to treat wastewater? Are they really that dependable? Historically, seepage pits and septic systems were constructed without much siting or design guidance and received little maintenance. Failures were common. During the post-war housing boom in the late 1940s and early 1950s, millions of septic systems were installed. Despite improved septic tank designs, there were still widespread failures.
Of course, the reasons that they failed early on was that we never recognized differences in soil and soil acceptance rates. Well, as a result of these continuing failures, it was reasoned that these systems are unreliable.
Treatment begins in the septic tank. Solids and floating matter separate from the wastewater. The wastewater is then dispersed to the soil where most treatment occurs. New knowledge about soil has led to success with septic systems.
The idea is that the soil contains numerous bacteria, and that the bacteria then aid in purifying the liquid as it passes by.
With the air found in loose soil to breathe, and with the food and the wastewater to eat, the organisms multiply and go to work. The water clears in as little as 2 feet of good soil. But good soil is not found everywhere. Only about 1/3 of the United States has soil suitable for conventional systems. However, there are methods that make up for site limitations. An artificial drain field or mound can be built, augmenting thin soils. Or the biological action of soil can be put in a box of sand or other media. These media filters are then used to pre-treat the wastewater before it is dispersed to the drain field. Another method of pre-treatment is to blow air directly into a wastewater container where suspended organisms are present. The organisms breathe, eat, and multiply. When no more food is available, they die and settle, leaving clarified wastewater. These aerobic treatment units, or ATUs, pre-treat the wastewater before it is dispersed. There are many variations in on-site system design, but all utilize the same natural biological processes. David Van Huysen, Texas designer and consultant, has been working with innovative on-site systems for many years.
The whole community doesn't have to be at one point or the other. The whole community doesn't have to be all centralized or all on site. It doesn't have to all be this level of cluster or this level of cluster. You can have different areas of the community that could be managed in different ways. The idea is that the whole thing is one management system.
If a good drain field cannot be found on everyone's lot, a cluster system may be a practical solution. Each house may have its own septic tank, but they are all connected to a single drain field. Cluster systems can be included with a variety of other on-site treatment methods within one effective community management system. The California oceanfront settlement of Stinson Beach has operated a successful on-site management system for over 25 years. The 700 residences and businesses occupy very small lots served by on-site systems. In the 1970s, many septic systems were failing. To avoid the high cost and the population increase that sewers and a central plant might bring, committed residents developed an on-site wastewater plan using innovative alternative systems managed by the Stinson Beach County Water District.
The engineering firm that I worked for before dealt with centralized systems. I thought that at one time that was the only way to go, and I thought that septic systems were basically an old method until I came here at Stinson Beach. Looking at the way these systems operate and the monitoring system that we have here, I feel that the cost effectiveness of these systems more than outweighs the cost of a centralized system.
The conventional and advanced on-site systems here are continually monitored and maintained to assure protection of the sensitive environment.
I think the management program here will work in just about every location. If it's done properly and it's managed properly, you should not have a problem. These systems could probably last 40 to 50 years without a problem.
Near the American River, in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains, the planned community of Auburn Lake Trails has been successfully using conventional on-site systems, mounds, and sand filters for 20 years, monitored and managed by the Public Utility District.
The reason our zone works so well is because we've done such extensive work in defining the problems in the soil. And once those limitations have been identified, then we can engineer something that can address the limitations in the soil. But it does require some advanced technology.
We test the effluent straight out of the sand filters themselves, and our district engineer has been very impressed how clean the water is inside these sand filters before they get dosed to the leach lines. It's important that these sand filters do their job. Otherwise, it could send the effluent right down to our creeks and contaminate our creeks and streams. And we've never had a positive sample in our streams.
When you have a problem with a septic tank, you have maybe a 250 gallon a day problem. When you have a problem with the sewer system, you've got 1 million gallons a day. And for rural America, dealing with a 250 gallon a day problem makes a lot more sense than trying to deal with a million. I'm very glad I don't have to deal with 1 million gallons of untreated sewage when there's a problem.
In Edison, Washington, shellfish beds were being polluted by the local tidal slough, which contained effluent from failing septic systems and directly discharged waste. Doris Robbins and her neighbors were determined to find a solution that would not be too economically disruptive.
We had to keep the expense down because this is a fairly low-income community with 4 generations of people living here. We wanted to keep them here.
To serve the 75 homes and businesses, community volunteers helped build a gravel filter. The local school district, also a major stakeholder, provided the high ground for the drain field and shares in the management of the system.
We were able to cut the cost per site from $20,000 to $7,000. And then for a certain income level, their costs were cut even further to $3,000. The first summer, people commented on how the slough didn't stink anymore.
In the Midwestern farm village of Klossner, Minnesota, old septic systems were failing. Soil limitations were overcome by installing new mounds and clusters. The nearby hamlet of St. George had similar problems.
The community was in a violation threat from the county and from the MPCA, and they realized that they had to do something. And at that point in time, they came to the township to try and get some help with the county and try to find answers.
The township planned and enabled a community on-site management system, installing a cluster to serve the 23 homes in the management entity.
As to management, people realize when they invest that kind of money nowadays into a septic system, just like you do a car, just like you do a house, you need to protect it, you need to take care of it. They may not know how to take care of it, and that's why we implement management tools that either help them understand so they can do it themselves, or if they don't choose to, someone will do it for them, and therefore they are protected.
In the late 1970s, people in Otter Tail County, Minnesota, noticed a decline in the water quality in their lakes. They decided to replace failing septic systems and start an on-site management system. Roland Mann administers the OMS that ensures the proper functioning of over 1,500 on-site systems in the district.
Your sludge accumulates, your scum accumulates in your tanks, and they definitely need to be checked. And everybody's system is different. One person, one house can have to be pumped every 2 years, another one might not have to be pumped for every 6 or 7 years. That's what we're finding. And it just all goes back to usage, and the only way to find out is to monitor it, check the tank, see what's in there, see what's coming out of the tank. If you don't, obviously the longevity of the system is going to be curtailed immensely. Water clarity in the lakes had definitely improved. You could go out and you could see the bottom a lot better than you ever could.
In North Carolina, the area around Elizabeth City has extremely high water tables. Residents there use septic systems managed by the Albemarle Regional Health Services on-site management entity. The OMS has been so successful that several adjacent counties have joined it.
Years ago, before we started the ME program, we had like a 30% failure rate. Since we started the ME program,
we had a 1% failure rate. That to me says a whole lot for the management entity program.
Many who work in Washington, D.C. live in nearby Fairfax County. The county health department's on-site management system, perhaps the first in the country, has overseen septic systems for more than half a century. Among the various management procedures, periodic pump-outs by licensed contractors are required. Management reviews ensure that the OMS can adapt to meet changing needs. Today it serves about 25,000 on-site systems.
Based on the Clean Water Act of 1972, everyone thought that we were going to have sewers. And so a mindset developed that septic tanks are only temporary. We're going to have sewers. Well, now, today, we recognize clearly that we're not going to have sewers. But that mindset hasn't changed.
A community really only has two choices. If change is inevitable and progress is optional, you can choose to do nothing. If you choose to do nothing, then the destiny of the community is not really in the community's hands. It's in the hands of those people who are creating the change. We have numerous communities around the United States that have been successfully using management entities of some form or another, in some cases for decades. And they have been able to do it successfully. So our job really here is to say, look at what others have done. We'll help you with understanding how others have accomplished this. It's not decision making at levels where you have to be fearful about what the outcome is. It's sorting through the options to design something that's good for your community.